everybody. It's Georgia Rose. Welcome to the Soul Space. I hope you're having a good day. I feel like this week is going to be a really exciting week and it's going to be a good week. So, I am Georgia Rose, your host and founder of the Zencuda Soul Space community. And I am here every night, every Monday night. I am here every Monday night at 7 o'clock in the Strong Island television studios, broadcasting live. And our show is all about spiritual wisdom, astrology, tarot, healing, all kinds of things for your soul. So, welcome. If you think our content is valuable, maybe you want to share the show tonight. So, tonight's show is really interesting. I decided to do a show about people who are, myself included, overwhelmed when we get into overcrowded places. And I'll tell you my own personal experience tonight with that and why I wanted to do a show about it. And then we are also going to talk about the big happening this week on April 20th, on Saturday, which is the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. Uranus and Jupiter come together every 14 years, and they have not done so in Taurus for the last 80 years. So this is a pretty big event, once in a lifetime for us, and I'll tell you all about that energy. But first, I'm going to get started, and sorry about that. My that volume was up. So first I'm going to say hi to whoever's in the soul space. You guys can comment live, and we'll also put a phone number on the screen if anybody wants to call in. And if you have any questions or any kind of spiritual things you want to mention about the energy. So hi, Kim and Joanne and Anita. Happy Monday to you too. Sending good vibes right back at you, Anita. And Joanna Maya, hope you're feeling good. Darlena Tard is on, and Anne is on. We've got everybody starting to pile into the soul space. You know, the reason why I started the podcast, Soul Space Podcast, was really not just for a platform that I can really give you guys the information you need about the current energy, but the reason why I started the Soul Space platform and the podcast was also because I really want to be able to have a community where we can all be together once a week and kind of learn about each other a little bit and get to know each other a little more and have a place that's non-judgmental, that we can kind of go back and forth about our spiritual belief systems and learn from each other. And I think we've really created that. We have a lot of things coming up this particular year, 2024, that is going to really expand on that community. So in the future, not just yet, but in the future, you probably will not see me on social media very much. We're going to have our own private community spaces to go to, because I'm not really interested in saturation and getting, thousands and thousands of people into a space of comment and a consensus. I'm really more interested in developing a very specific community of individuals that are all on the same path. So I hope that's why you're joining me. And if you like my content, share my show. We'll gather our community together. Hey, Sarah, glad you're in here tonight. So I think I'm going to start with the astrology a little bit, because we do have a big event this week with that Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. So I want to talk a little bit about that before we go into our show's topic tonight. And so I'm going to put my notes from this over here, and we'll start with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. So what is a conjunction? Well, first of all, a conjunction is when two planets come together in exactly the same spot. It's like if you were sitting in a chair and minding your own business and you were Uranus, Jupiter came in the room all of a sudden and is sitting on your lap. Now, depending on how much Uranus likes Jupiter, that could be a good thing or a bad thing, right? Well, in this case, it's quite all right. Jupiter and Uranus are two planets with very opposite and polarized energy, but in this instance, in a stable sign like Taurus, they're really going to get along pretty well. And this is good news for most of us. It's also good news that is a really beautiful, benevolent kind of an energy. So a conjunction is when two planets are on top of each other. And in this case, we have Jupiter on one hand and Uranus on the other coming together and kind of sitting with each other for a little bit. And this energy is also igniting the energy of the eclipses that we just recently had, brings that into focus. For some of us, this energy, and I'm not going to go into the configuration of why, because it's a little bit more advanced astrology. I don't want to bore you guys. But this energy is also bringing forward wherever you were in the spring of 2021 in your life and what themes were going on. This can bring in the energy of culmination with those themes for certain zodiac signs specifically, a little bit for all of us. And I'll get into that in a little bit. So when two planets come together, they have to work together and the energy has to be integrated. So what is the energy of each of these planets? Well, Uranus is a planet which you hear me say on the show all the time and on my videos on my YouTube channel, Zencuda, is a planet of sudden unexpected change. It's also the awakener. It's revolutionary. It's pioneering energy, which plays right into all this Aries energy we have right now, that parade of planets we have going through Aries. So Uranus is the revolutionary. Uranus is the planet that comes in and kind of gives us a zap of electricity or that aha moment so that we go and we change something in our lives. That's why it's known as the awakener. Jupiter is a planet that is usually very benevolent and amplifies whatever it is around, whatever house it's transiting, wherever it is in your chart natally. It's going to amplify and make bigger the energies of that area. So one could say when Jupiter and Uranus come together, Jupiter will, expand that energy of revolution and the change and the awakening. And that's very true. That absolutely will happen. But it's softened because right now we have Mars in Pisces. And Mars is that aggressive energy that we all have, which when we're awakened and more mature becomes more assertion. In Pisces, Mars is a little bit debilitated. It's not so feisty. So with this particular Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, the energy can really be used for beautiful energy, for expansion, for healthy awakening and healing, and also for assertion to bring ourselves forward in whatever we've been trying to manifest. So in that regard, it's really quite a energy that can bring us to the next level of our life. And this energy doesn't just happen in one day. The conjunction is exact in one day. But then we have the energy with us for quite a few months, just like the eclipse energy. So with that energy in play, we have the ability right now to really bring in some beautiful energy that can help us heal some things that we've been trying to heal, move forward some things in our life that we wanted to have some movement on that we haven't been able to, and maybe we've been a little frustrated about lately. So this is really a great way to integrate change. And it's a great energy that we can also use to weave together those things that we've found unable to put together and solidify and integrate. In this energy, though, we have the ability to really weave that together. Jupiter sometimes is known as the weaver of the zodiac because it brings things together harmoniously. So this is really amazing energy for integration. And we haven't had an energy like this in quite a while. We've had a lot of disruptive energy. Now, don't get me wrong. You might see a lot of that this week, too, because we still have Uranus in play here. And in a sign like Taurus, it will be releasing energy. It'll be releasing energy of change, of revolution, of rebellion. Rebellion is the word I'm looking for. This is an energy of reformation, reform, reshaping things, but we can use it to manifest because it is those things, if that makes sense to you guys out there. And what do I mean by manifest? I mean bring potential into form. Our wishes, our hopes, our dreams, the goals that we have can really come into form in an energy like this. We can use that Uranus electricity for change and move things forward at a pretty good rate. So the things that may have happened in 2021 that were uncomfortable and that were a conflict now in this energy can culminate and resolve because Jupiter and Uranus were in a square in Taurus Scorpio in 2021. And that's an energy of tension. Now they've come full circle. They're coming together to reconcile that energy. So think about that spring of 2021. We were kind of just coming off of COVID then. It'll complete that energy. Also, this is going to show us what action we need to take in the positive aspect of moving something forward, of putting something into an integration. My warning for you guys, and it is a warning, is don't be impulsive. We still have a lot of Aries energy floating around. Uranus is a planet of sudden and unexpected things happening. When Uranus transits happen, things start to occur and we don't even know why they're happening. We just know they're happening. So don't be impulsive in this energy. There is a large potential for impulsivity. don't do that. You want to slow your roll. You want to make sure you're using this energy for the purpose of its highest octave. Um, so the greater purpose of Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, when you have a planet like Uranus, which is the awakener, it brings us those aha moments. It's the electricity in the room that shows us where the furniture is so we don't stumble over it, right? When you have a planet like that, Uranus, going together with a planet like Jupiter, which wants to bring us good things and benevolence and harmony, there's a higher meaning here. And that higher meaning is for greater purpose. It's meant to broaden our horizons and bring us to a place where we have a higher level of consciousness. And that's really, really super much the theme of 2024. You have Pluto in Aquarius very much doing that, only the way Pluto in Aquarius is doing it is bringing things up from the depth that are hidden to show them and bring them into light so that we raise our consciousness. So this is an energy of great reform. It's an energy that can bring cohesive energy into a place that was diverse. It can also create diversity and harmony. And it can also give us the energy that we need to really express ourselves in the chart and feel confident to do that. So this is all about endings and beginnings, bringing you to a new beginning, same as the eclipse energy. But now with this beautiful conjunction on Saturday, it's going to show you exactly where you need to be, the space you really want to take up, and it's going to start to bring you a little bit of clarity. That may be gentle, maybe a little bit of a push, but it's probably going to start to happen. The other thing I wanted to say, I'm just going to go through the signs really, really quickly. So for Aries, this is rising signs. I can't do sun signs because I don't know what house your suns are in. Rising signs are always in the first house. So if you are a rising sign Aries, you are going to be moving boundaries, and this also has to do with money. So Aries, you've had some money challenges lately, and this is about you using your resources and using your benevolence of Jupiter to really manifest those money issues and the money that you want to come to you. So if you are an Aries and my friend's birthday was this Saturday, happy birthday to you. This is a great time for you to manifest the old cash, the old money, and the abundance in the material world. So, hey, work it. If you're a Taurus, this is going to be something about authority in your life. There's a place where authority has maybe gone over the line or gone over a boundary with you, and you're going to find that you need to maybe pull back a little bit in the way you're allowing this authority to come over you. So this is going to be for my Tauruses out there. It's going to show you where your boundaries are, and they may change. Gemini, this is you've been holding on to something, hoping that you were going to get the recognition or hoping that you were going to get the payout that you really want. And in this energy, you need to step down. You need to stop holding on to that thing. You need to sacrifice something and just let it go. You need to step down. Cancer, you've been really excited. You have a lot of zeal lately. What I'm going to say to you is you're not quite ready to pull the trigger, Cancers, in this energy. You want to move forward, you want to go, but you don't really have the clarity on where you're going yet. So you may want to not be impulsive, and you may want to just, stand down a little bit, Cancers, okay? Leo, my beautiful lions out there. Leo is asking, am I getting a return on my investment work-wise? This is in your career house, my Leo risings, and this is all about, is this paying off? Is this business where I really want to be? Is this paying off for me? Am I getting the return I really want? Virgos, this is about travel for you. And not just like, oh, I'm going to go to 7-Eleven and get a cup of coffee. This is about long distance travel. It's about stepping into the world and broadening your horizons. So for my Virgos out there, you might get a case of wanderlust. If you do, hey, why not book the trip? Libra, out of all the signs in the zodiac, for you, this is a little bit of restlessness. And I hate to say maybe you were feeling a little helpless. Those eclipses were tough on you, Librans. You are stepping into identity now. But for you, Libra, this is also a little bit of frustration and confusion in some things. But what I'm here to tell you is the good news is in May, Jupiter goes into Gemini. And when Jupiter goes into Gemini, it's going to not only expand communication for everyone, but it's also, for my beautiful Libran friends, it's going into air. So you're going to feel refreshed. You're going to have more air in your life as soon as Jupiter goes into Gemini, and that's happening in May. So what I'm going to say to you, Librans, if you are feeling frustrated or confused, Librans, if you're feeling frustrated and confused, stop taking on or being responsible for another person's change. If you see things in another person's life that they need to undergo some changes, or they need to, have some maturity or some shifts in their life, stop taking the responsibility for that. You'll feel less frustrated and confused. Sagittarius. Saggies, I'm a Sag rising. I know how this feels right now. You're doing everything you need to do. You're getting everything in a row. You're raring to go to the party, but there isn't one. It's like, where's the party? They forgot to invite me. There is no party. Things are slowed down. We have energy in Taurus with this conjunction, so it's very methodical and very slow. So for my Saggy rising people, just know the energy will move along, but right now you're in a slowdown. Things seem slow. It's just the way it is, but you're looking for a reward and recognition. But my Sagittarians, this time around, in looking for that, in that, what's in it for me? Is there anything in this for me? Whether that's a relationship or a project, you're going to be asking this. And what's going to start to happen for my Sag risings, and I know because it's happening to me, is you're going to start to realize you're too good for this. Like whatever project you're working on, wherever you are spending your time and taking up space, you're going to look around and realize, I'm a little too smart for this. I'm a little too good for this. And that is coming, but right now the world is just a little slow for you because that introspection is where you need to be. Capricorns, you got to focus inward. Capricorns think about everything strategically, and you need to be creative in this energy. And I know creativity isn't something that we kind of put at Capricorn's door, but in this energy, Capricorns can be very creative. And this is all about finding meaning in things that bring you joy, because Capricorns don't always do that. They take on a lot of responsibility. In this energy, Cappies, you want to really dig deep and go inside and think about what is very fulfilling to you and what really gives you meaning. Aquarius, for you, 2021's energy is really coming into play. It's culminating in this energy. This is probably something to do with home and family that was going on in 2021. This is about decisions that you made then coming back around and realizing that maybe those decisions weren't so much that you had to change an environment or take a practical approach. Those decisions were about you staying true to your goal. And you're going to be put into a situation where you're going to be the rock. You're going to be the steady. You're going to be the energy that has really been consistent and stable. And so I almost feel like it's almost like a father energy, even if you're a woman, because it's that energy of just complete stability. And it has to do with what started in 2021 and that springtime of 2021, and bringing that energy forward to a place where now it culminates, but you've been the steady, you've been the rock. And then for my final sign in the zodiac, I'm sorry I skipped Scorpio, I'll go back to that. For the final sign in the zodiac, Pisces, this is all about you're frustrated by an associate right now. There's a project or something that you're on, Pisces. The associate that you work with is looking at things from a financial perspective, and you feel they need to be looking at it from a more meaningful perspective. So it's causing you some frustration. Just, again, stand down a little bit, because in this energy, it will change. So I'm going to go back to my Scorpio people. I'm sorry I missed you. Scorpio, for you, this is a lot about romance. And not a new romance necessarily, but this is about romance in the sense of falling in love all over again. It may be someone that you know for a while. It may be a new partner that you just are resurrecting, new to you, but someone that maybe you knew years and years ago or something. What happens now is it's like a mature kind of love. I remember when my niece was getting married a while back. This is quite a few years ago. And we were talking about marriage, and I said, listen, I'm a realist. This is what marriage is. Marriage is you wake up one day and across the breakfast table and you just want to punch their face. And then a day later you wake up and all of a sudden you see how cute they really are and why you fell in love in the first place. That's marriage, right? We keep falling in love all over again. So that was my experience with marriage for a long while anyway. And so Pisces, Scorpio, this is about you breaking free of those things that are the petty things that make you fall out of love with your partner. And now it's like you're seeing them for the first time again, and you'll fall back in love. Or if there's been a relationship that's been stagnant, or you haven't declared yourselves with each other, in an energy like this, it's almost like you could look up and be like, oh, wow, this really is the right one for me. Why didn't I see it before? So that's my Scorpions, all right? So I'm going to go to the comments, see what you guys think of all of the astrology. Hey, Christina. Hi, Kim. Welcome from Florida. Laureen is watching. Trish Adams. Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl. I get to see Cheryl twice today. She was in my real life class, right? For my real life, I call it my earthbound life, my earthbound job. So I'm going to get right into our show's topic tonight. Now, I know that I usually read a chart on the show, usually for the last 10 minutes of every show. We're going to be doing that next week. I won't have time to do that tonight. But I want to talk to you guys about navigating overwhelm, right? We were talking about when you're in a crowded room and things just seem to be very, squirrely, I like to use the word. Oftentimes I say things are too people-y. It's too people-y in here. I have to go home. So I'm going to tell you guys a story. I like to learn through story. I hope you guys do too. So a while back, I guess it was, actually it was in late December, a couple of days before New Year's. A good friend of mine, or I thought they were a good friend of mine. I hope they still are. I don't know. They've blocked me for months. I was invited to a birthday party. So I went to their party, and it was at a restaurant. And to give you the backstory, this person is late a lot, like late to even Reiki or things when we're, in meditation. They'll come in the room. They're late often, which is okay. I'm late a lot too, so I get that. No problem with that. But the last time it was their birthday, a couple of years before, prior to COVID, I was actually asked to a birthday party, and they didn't show up for almost 2 hours. And I sat in this restaurant with people I really didn't know. At the time, it was actually in a music club. And that was several years ago. So now I accepted an invitation again. It was a special birthday for this person, and I really wanted to go and make an effort to go, even though I knew I really wouldn't know anyone there. And it was a dinner, which I don't really do dinners, but I was like, okay. So I wanted to go for them. So that day I had a very bad migraine headache. And as I said, it was a couple of days before New Year's, in between the Christmas, New Year's. Went to the restaurant, and they wouldn't seat us until the person that made the reservation came, and that was the birthday person. So we ended up on a Saturday night having to stand in a very crowded bar room, which was like wall-to-wall people. As her parties, the member for her party, it was a big dinner in the back room of this place, I guess maybe 20 people or so, arrived. I didn't know any of them except one person. It was very hard to hear in this room, and it's very, very loud. And there I am, having had a migraine all day, and I made a special effort to come out. I bought a really pretty present for this person, and I wanted to really make it nice for her. And I'm standing in the bar room, loud, not feeling good, head pounding, standing in the bar room, standing in the bar room, standing in the bar room. And clock ticks. Now I'm there 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It becomes to be over 45 minutes that we were there at the time that was allotted, that the reservation was made for. So now I text the person and I say, are you coming? Are you en route? What's going on? And they said, yes, I'm getting there. The person who was picking me up was late to my house. Okay. Wait another 15 minutes, still no show. So at that point, I made a decision, very uncomfortable as I was, physically not feeling good, and really trying to stick it out for this person who now it's like 55 minutes or so and they haven't shown up. So I texted them and I said, I waited as long as I felt able. I'm really not feeling good today. I had a migraine. I'm going to go. I'll take you to dinner this week, and, I have a present for you. So I got a very caustic text and have never heard from them again. This was a long friendship. This was somebody that, we had things in common together and had vibed about on things. And since then, I've reached out several times, said, listen, I'm sorry if you took this the wrong way, but, I wasn't feeling well, and I did what I had to do for my own welfare, and never got an answer. I believe I'm blocked. So that's why I wanted to do this show tonight, because a big part of when we feel overwhelmed, when we push ourselves to the brink or the limit, especially for a situation where it's not reciprocated, that's when we really have to think about where we're at in our lives as far as how we're doing self-care, right? Which is a big part of being in our soul space. And I'm not telling this story to make that person feel bad. I'm not telling this story because there's nothing wrong with what she did. It was her birthday. I can completely it was her birthday, and I can completely understand how she maybe was offended that I left the party. I totally get that. The answer is communication. You know, speak to me. If we have a talk, it'll probably be cleared up. So I don't have any anger or any ill will towards that person. They acted the way they needed to do for themselves, as I did. But when we have to navigate the overwhelm, I think that's where things get a little hairy, because I know sometimes I feel that overwhelmed even in my earthbound life. Like today I had to teach a class to, you guys know I train real estate agents. I do education for business and wellness and realtors and all kinds of things, as well as I list and sell homes. And, you know, I walked into a class today coming from another class and was not expecting to have the crowd that I had. And maybe I thought maybe 10 people were going to show up. And I had like, you know, a standing room only bunch of people in this office. And that's overwhelming to me, because my personal thing is I want to make sure everyone in that room gets something that they can take away that's meaningful to them so that they can, you know, prosper and have abundance and make connections. And so it can be overwhelming. So there's some things and some hints that I wanted to give you guys about that. So first of all, defining what overwhelm is to you, whether it's in a crowded bar room or it's in your job or even in a family situation. What are the physical symptoms of your overwhelm, and how do they come? Like for me, my thoughts start to race. I talk very fast, so I do some breathing so that I present well, because I don't want to talk too fast. And I think in discovering what our overwhelm feels like, we can see cues as to how to handle it. So overwhelm is very common. And that's the other reason why I wanted to talk about it tonight and give you guys some strategies and some tips on how to really overcome that feeling. I think that overwhelm can be irrational thoughts. We can inflate a problem, you know, like maybe we're at a birthday party and the cake hasn't arrived, and all of a sudden that becomes everyone's hyper focus because we're in a crowded room and maybe anxiety is going a little bit. We're picking up energy. Especially if you are empathic or you are sensitive to energy, it's going to feel really overwhelming. Sometimes it can be paralysis where you can't follow a conversation, you know, and then that will build anxiety for you. Sometimes it's a withdrawal where, you know, I'm just going to go sit over here and nurse this drink, or I'm just going to go sit over here and make myself a plate of food so I really don't have to interact with the crowd. So I think that dealing with overwhelm and really thinking about what does that feel like for me? What are my symptoms? How does it make me feel? Will give us some ideas of where it's coming from and how to heal it. I know for me, noise is a big factor. I am in PT now because you remember a few weeks ago I had a very severe leg injury. And now I go to PT, and in the PT where I go, they have TVs all over and TVs on like every wall. And I'm not a TV watcher. So it's very hard for me to be in that room. So what I do is now I bring my ear pods and I play my meditation music, even when I'm, you know, on the machines and stuff, because it just brings me into a different zone. So that leads me to think about, first of all, what is the feeling? Do you feel short of breath? Do you feel too much noise? Do you feel sensory overload? Think about how you feel. And you can even put some of that in the comments, you know. Hi, Trish. So, and you can always watch the replay, guys. So then the next thing I would say is think about what you do when you get that feeling. Do you immediately bolt out of the room? Do you, are you able to, you know, think about what can I do to feel better? Or do you think about, oh, this is going to pass, I'm going to be fine? Like, what exactly is the insight that you have? So a lot of common issues with overwhelm is the rapid heart, the, you know, just feeling like things are closing in on you. I remember being in a line at an outdoor theater one time to see a band, and they corralled us in like they do at Universal and Disney, and those, you know, they frame you in and you're on like a zigzag line. That always gives me a little bit of panic. And I realized it's because one of the things that is my sensory overload is if I'm in a very confined or restricted area. That's why I don't like to fly, and that's why I don't love public transit, because I always feel like I can't stop it and get off. And that's a very overwhelming claustrophobic feeling for me. So when I know I have to fly, or I know I have to be on a train or something like that, I bring reading material, or I bring music or something to distract myself, and I'll go in my own little space. I even do that at the dentist. I have, like, I put on dark glasses, I put in ear pods, like I don't want to be in the room. So if you can understand your overwhelm, it begins with understanding the physical symptoms. And if you can trace those physical symptoms back, it'll usually bring you back to either some kind of childhood trauma or something. Like, I know my big overwhelm is a lot of times I feel like I can't breathe, or claustrophobia. And that's because when I was a kid, my brothers used to always hold me underwater in the pool. They didn't want me in the pool with them. They hated their little sister being in the pool when they wanted to have their free time. So in those days, they had like the life jackets that were like the orange clothy life jackets in, the 70s. And so they would hold me underwater till my life jacket got sogged, and then I couldn't go in the pool anymore because I didn't have a life jacket that would hold me up. So at a very young age, I was almost put into suffocation. So, boys will be boys, right? A little abuse in childhood, huh? So I have brought that sense memory, that memory field with me whenever I start to feel overwhelmed. It's like, and then I have to find a doorway or an outside area. So common causes of that overwhelming feeling, when you define what it is, you'll know the common cause for you. Where did it come from? Why do I feel this way? And then that enables you to have an open space to go back and heal it. That's why overwhelm happens. It doesn't just happen because we've never felt it before. It happens because there's some kind of a memory field within us that remembers a trauma that feels like in the physical body. The body keeps score, very famous book. The body always remembers. And, just like when you're in a crowd, or I remember going to a few theaters sometimes that was standing room only, and, you had general admission ticket and everyone's pressing against it. I couldn't stay. It was too overwhelming for me. So those are my personal stories. I'd love to hear some of yours if anybody wants to call into the show or anything like that. So common causes of overwhelm are social obligations. You've been forced to go somewhere you really didn't want to go. You're going to feel overwhelmed when you get there. There's no question about it. So ask yourself, am I saying yes when I really should say no? Like with my friend, I waited as long as I could. I didn't want her to be offended. So I said, I have a gift for you. I'd love to take you to dinner. So she would know I wasn't personally doing something to offend her. It was just a situation where I wasn't feeling well. So think about your boundaries, because social obligations, as soon as you feel like you have to be there. I remember having a family member who was very, very ill at one time. They're at the end of their life, and I was much younger. And I would be forced to go to the hospital and sit by their bed. And it would give me so much anxiety because I just didn't want to be there. In that time in my life, I did not want to be there. God help me, that was just not the right place for me to be. So think about where that obligation plays into the overwhelm. Large gatherings, maybe you're just somebody like myself. If I'll go to weddings and large gatherings that have space, but I don't like to go to large gatherings where everyone is crammed in and it's elbow to elbow. That's not where I want to be. And as a projector, human design, I will take on too much of the energy in that place in order for me to be healthy. So I don't subject myself to that. And also professional networking, sometimes that can be really an overwhelmed trigger because you probably have some trauma related to judgment. And in professional environments, it's all about the judgment. Everyone's judging you all the time in professional environments. It's just the way it is, depending on your industry, more or less. And so it can be very anxiety provoking to walk into those rooms, especially if you have any kind of position of authority, and know that those people are all looking for the shoelace that's untied, the word you're going to miss, whatever you did wrong. That's the nature of the beast. So that will give you that overwhelming feeling. More than likely, when you're in those situations at work, it's probably because you were judged as a youngster, because we mirror our familial relationships, our family relationships from work. So there's some things that I want to talk about that maybe will help you to understand the overwhelm, why you have it. and whenever I think about how the brain works, I always think about the development of the human being, right? Like even when we were cavemen, we had a brain that was developing, just like when we were 5, our brain was developing. So we have primitive instincts. We have primitive things that happen in our brain, primitive ways that our brain works. And one of the way the brain works is the brain is trained to find community. And that's why I love the soul space community. We feel good here, right? We talk to each other sometimes. We have comments. We get to know who's who, what's what. And we're going to be planning some events where you guys can talk back and forth. That's coming. So the brain is trained to find community. We find comfort in community, whether that's our family or a church organization or a social group or just friends or that little work pod. We're trained to find community for solace and comfort. Our brain is just wired that way. But our brain is also wired to find danger. So in community, we're no different than when we're in the jungle. We may feel more comfortable, but there's a part of our brain that's still looking for danger. And because of that, the human body and the human brain finds it very hard to relax in groups of people. We want to be in them. We crave community. But yet our brain is that smoke detector looking for the smoke. Because it's primitive in our makeup. It's just like a dog has primitive things. You put food down, the dog's going to eat it. Our brains and our body are programmed for certain things. And it's programmed for community, but danger. So how do you integrate those? You have to find safe spaces. And hopefully the soul space is a safe space of non-judgment. So what happens is we've got this polarization of acceptance or judgment. Acceptance, judgment. Oh, I like her sweater, but her shoes are horrible. But you know what? I can see why she'd buy them. That's just her. They look good on her. Or, oh my God, do you see what she wore? How did she go out of the house that way? Right? Acceptance, judgment, acceptance, judgment. Really, I didn't even notice her outfit. She's just such a nice person. Acceptance, judgment. Oh my God, you didn't see that? Acceptance, judgment all day long. That's what creates the overwhelm. And then we go into a group of other people, and instead of feeling comfort, we feel danger, danger. Will Robinson, something's going to happen in this joint. So that's what happens. So it's pretty fundamental of why we feel overwhelmed. So how do you fix it? You've got to give yourself enough space in your life. For me, that's alone time. That's time in meditation, time in a dark yoga studio at dawn. That's time where I am completely in a safe place of myself, wrapping my arms around myself, being in complete and total communion with God, whatever God is to you, whatever that energy of creation is to you. And I feel so safe and so beautiful in that spot that my brain and my body get programmed to know what safety is, to know what feeling relaxed is. And then I'm so confident in that agency and that authority of my own person that when I am in an overwhelmed situation, I'm pretty relaxed. Like even today, I walked in and it was like, there's a lot of people here, uh-oh. But I just did my thing. And from time to time during that presentation, during my training, during all these things, I'll have a little moment where I'll be like, uh-oh, are they getting this? I don't know if they're getting this. And I start to judge myself. I'm human. Everyone does that. And then I just think, well, no, you're doing fine. You're living up to an expectation. Somebody in the room thinks you're okay. And more importantly, you're doing okay. You think you're okay. You're okay. So the overwhelm comes from us being programmed to always sense danger. And we're programmed from our childhood unprocessed emotion as adults to be afraid of danger and afraid of people, right? Stranger danger, stranger danger. People always say, oh, millennials just want to text and talk on the phone. They don't really want to come into the office and talk to us. They don't want to come over for dinner. They just want to order, out. Yeah, because we taught them to be afraid of people. And they have a mechanism in their brain that was already there thinking that we should be afraid, danger, danger. So that's amplified. So when we go into a really crowded space or we go into a really noisy place, we're sensing danger. The body is triggered, and then it takes on the manifestation of physical symptoms. The more we can relax and be in places where the body learns what relaxation is, walking on the beach, walking in the woods or forest, sailing on the Long Island Sound or whatever lake you live on, going for long walks, playing with our animals, being in yoga, meditation, qigong, things that, like when I do an astrology chart, it's so beautifully relaxing for me. Those spaces heal us and give us the confidence we need so that when we go into these other very stressful places, the workplace, the people in our family that are challenging for us, wherever that space is, when we do that, we have a fundamental foundation now where we trust ourselves to be okay, we're confident, we feel relaxed, and now the overwhelm doesn't happen as much. So those are the strategies to cope that you can use with yourself internally. And I really hope that you take those to heart, because that insecurity that happens throughout our day is really a primal trigger. It's not because there's something wrong with you. Don't look over at someone else and say, oh, they're really confident. They can come to all these places and they never feel anxiety. You don't really know that, number one. And number two, it doesn't matter, because their mental condition shouldn't have anything to do with the work you're doing on yours. So there's some strategies to cope. Here's a few more practical ones. Set your boundaries. Don't take on those obligations that you don't really want to go to in the first place. Because whenever we're forced, or we compel ourselves even to do that, we're creating a situation where we're already feeling like there's danger, because it's going against our will. So set boundaries in regards to those things. If you have to go to something that you know is going to be a little bit of a trigger for you and make you overwhelmed, set a timeline. I'm going to stay for a half hour. And tell people, listen, I have another obligation. I'm going to stop by to say hello, but I really can't stay. Please don't take it personally. Maybe you can come over for lunch or tea or something one day. You want to stay localized. This is another thing, and this is something that I used when I first started to do podcasts. When I first started to do podcasts, I would be so nervous and so anxious because, remember, I was just talking about how we think about people as a danger because they're going to judge us, and what are they going to think, and what are they going to say? And that line of thinking creates the overwhelm. Well, when you do a podcast, suddenly that piece becomes not just, oh, my 5 friends at the restaurant, or, oh, these 20 people I have to train. Now it becomes the whole world. Oh my God, what's the whole world going to think of me? And I think we do that to ourselves, whether it's on a podcast or not. We start to think in terms of, walking in the mall or walking across a parking lot. If it's crowded, we equate that to, oh my God, the whole world's looking at me. Localize it. Bring it down. The whole world is not looking at you. The whole world is not judging you. Maybe your family or your 5 friends are. So localize it and bring it down to a manageable thing. Prioritize quality instead of quantity. I used to have so many friends. I used to actually do a Christmas party every year with a huge tent off the back of my house. I'd have 120 people in my home. I could probably not name half of them right now. As I got more mature, I just didn't need to do that anymore. I have a few really close friends. I'm good with that. When I was going through my divorce and I had a lot of friends, we used to have parties with bands on the lawn, and a couple of times the police came and said we were too noisy. That's just not my vibe anymore. I'm really okay now with like a potluck dinner with a few friends, or cooking Sunday dinner for, 6 or 8 people, if that. I'm really okay with that, and I love that because I have meaningful conversation with people and we really connect. So think about that. We don't need the overwhelm. I am friendly with a lot of people. They're not my friends. I'm not in their life. They don't call me and say, hey, what's going on? And I don't call them and say, hey, what's going on? I'm friendly. They're not friends. Nothing against that. Friends to me are people who you can call at 3:00 in the morning to bring you Pepto-Bismol. And the last thing is what I said before, was prepare your body and your mind for what relaxation feels like. What is relaxation to you? Where do you find that you get fulfillment and you can feel your body relaxing? Your body knows now what relaxation is. That's really, really important. And then take that a step further and start to think about those feelings and what that feels like for you when you are out and about and when you're in these crowded places and you're feeling overwhelmed, whether that's your family or your friends or a public place. Think about, well, gee, when I was walking on the beach last Tuesday, I just had this beautiful feeling of the sun on my face, and I felt so relaxed and whole, and and not speed it up and not in obligation, and bring that energy into the overwhelm to calm it. So I'm just going to go to our comments for a little while. Hey, Julie, how are you? Um, Cheryl says you're special. Some people are just negative. You make people so comfortable. Thank you so much. I think people are just, thanks, Stephanie. Good advice, says Stephanie. I think people in general in the world right now, and I don't mean to say anything negative, I think, I love everybody. But I think people in general, because of this energy, and there's so much energy that's compelling us to move forward in our lives and grow out of the things that really are holding us back. That makes a lot of people really nervous, and it makes a lot of people take those nerves out on each other. And so for me, my choice when I was deeply wounded in my life was to go inside and go into my soul space and repair and restore and remember what beautiful things really are. And I found beauty in repulsive things. I found forgiveness in egregious behaviors. Some people can't do that. Some people have to go out and throw their wounds all over the sidewalk and make you suffer with them. That's always going to be part of humanity. But I think we have a choice. We can feed into that and stay in the energy, or we can decide where we want to take up space. And I'd rather be in the soul space with all of you. And I'd rather be on retreats and doing yoga and, trying to help people who really want to elevate their life, not in that negativity of somebody who's just in the wound. So that's my mission. That's why I do what I do. Darlene says her daily yoga and meditation practice definitely helps. It sounds so cliche when we say do yoga, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not talking about standing on your head. I'm talking about do a restorative class, lay on your back with your knees up. For 10 minutes. We never do that. The body needs restoration. So look, you can even go on the internet, Yoga is very, very important for our body's alignment. If you don't want to do that, just take 10 minutes and have a really beautiful glass of water or a cup of whatever your favorite beverage is and go out in nature and just listen to the birds, but do something to bring your parasympathetic nervous system down. It's going to help you with all the overwhelms that we feel everywhere. Just looking through the comments. Is it odd that nothing seems to bother you anymore? You dismiss it. No, that's beautiful. You've reached alignment. Darlene says she did commute to New York City on trains and subways. Yeah, I am not a big proponent of public transit. Thank God I have abundance in my life, because people make fun of me because I grew up on Long Island. And of course, everyone knows the Long Island Railroad. I've only been on the railroad like 3 times in my whole life. If I have to go into Manhattan, I just take a car service. I call up a car, hey, come pick me up. This was even before like Uber. I would just take a town car or whatever in, because I'm not dealing with that. I'm just not. I'm not a prima donna. If it's not good for my energy, I'm not doing it. And especially now in New York, we all know public transit, you don't even want to go on it. But yeah, I don't do that. And the same thing I always said, if I ever got to a certain level of finances, I would not be flying commercial, because I just don't like traveling with crowds. And very bright lights are very, very big. I am a huge not liker. I don't like, hugely against fluorescent lighting and LEDs. I think they're terrible. I think they cause a lot of problems with the brain. When I have to be in an office setting for a long time, you'll see me wear glasses that shut out the UV light, the LED light. I will not have LED light bulbs in my home. I actually bought cases and cases of the old incandescent bulbs because they're outlawed now. Sorry, come arrest me. They hurt my eyeballs. They make the muscles in my eyes hurt, and I think they're very, very bad for the brain. So fluorescent lighting and lighting will absolutely cause overwhelm. You're never late, Trish. You're perfect. Thank you, Kim Murray Bummer. Christopher Colucci, hey out there, Chris. Oh, Claire's on again. Hey, Claire, how are you? So, yeah, I'm just loving doing the astrology from my company also. I have a whole thing. I do astrology for business. We're probably going to make that a page on my new sites that are coming out. So you're going to love them. But I am running out of time, and I forgot to do the commercial, so I got to go. But I hope you'll all share the show and come back here next Monday night at 7 o'clock for the Zencuda Soul Space. If you haven't subscribed, find me on social media and on YouTube. I love you all. Have a beautiful week. And on Saturday, be really in the zone. Bye-bye.